Welcome into American Parenting, everybody. My name is Dustin Brandon, and I am your host. Here on the show, we're helping you raise warriors in a society that embraces being fragile. On today's show, we got a special guest, Brittany Taylor, with us. She's going to be talking to us about life before and during deployment. So please stick around for an awesome conversation about what she's going through. All right, Miss Taylor, how are you doing?
I'm great.
Good. I'm so excited that you're here. Like, this is like the first guest of the show, so I'm stoked that you're here with us.
No pressure.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, listen, of the three people that listen to this, trust me, there's no pressure whatsoever. So I guess first off is that there are people that know me that will listen to this, and that will know you that listen to this will probably know a little bit about you. But if you don't care, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I am a mother of two sons. I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I'm also an 8th grade history teacher.
So you would be like in the thick of it, I guess.
Do what?
I said you're in the thick of it, I guess.
Yes, I am.
A 7 and a 4-year-old. There's no dull moments in your house whatsoever.
No, it's constant chaos.
Absolutely. All right, I cut you off. I'm sorry. So 8th grade history teacher. So for those of you that don't know, she and I, we actually did work together on different things in different capacities in the district that we both work in. But she's a much better teacher than I was. So, so keep going. Tell us more.
That's not true. But I'm a teacher for, I'm going on year 10, I believe, and United States history at the middle school level.
Whoa.
And my husband is in air traffic. He does air traffic for the military.
Wow, that's not a stressful job, I'm sure, whatsoever.
Yeah.
So,
and then his full-time job, civilian job, is also tied in with the military,
okay.
too.
All right, cool. So how long has your husband been in the military?
He joined when he was 19. This is year 17 for him.
Yeah.
He joined in 2005, I believe it was. And, he just up and decided he wasn't doing much with his life. And he and his roommate at the time just decided, let's go join the military. And his friend chose air traffic.
Wow.
It was a huge decision that he made on a whim.
I was going to say, I would love to have been in the room where that conversation happened, where it's just like two guys sitting around like, you know what? Like, I think we need to go into the military and do some air traffic control. Like, that'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Well,
and
first off,
my husband and his friends, that's them.
Yeah. So is his buddy still in?
Yes, they're in together. They're actually
okay.
deployed together right now.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. That's very cool. Very cool. Well, I didn't even tell you this at the beginning, but like I think it kind of goes without saying, but I just want to say like thank you and your husband for y'all's sacrifice, because I know that it's definitely been a rough go, with everything going on in the country, but then also everything going on in the world, and especially with Matt being deployed, like it cannot be an easy road that you guys are on, and I appreciate the sacrifice that you guys are making for everybody that's out there for sure.
Thank you.
So as far as stuff goes, before we kind of take a break, can you tell the listeners about deployments before and after kids?
So this is my first deployment. I met my husband right after. He's gone on 3 tours before to Iraq and Afghanistan, and I met him right after he returned from one of those.
Gotcha.
Almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm very fortunate that I've actually never experienced a deployment before. I've experienced when he went to trainings and things like that for months on end, but this is my first official deployment that I've experienced. And
Gotcha.
it's just unfortunately we have kids now. So
yeah. Well, that's really what this whole episode is going to be about. Is kind of like trying to figure out like how do you go through and set things up before a deployment, and then also during a deployment, because I know like just from the conversation that you and I've had just as friends, like I know that this has definitely been a big thing that you guys have been trying to navigate through. So I know that there's going to be a ton of information that you'll be able to give the listeners that will hear this podcast. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a quick break, and then whenever we get back, we're going to talk about life before deployments and how you go through and you prepare for that. All right, so we're back. So once again, we got Brittany Taylor with us. She is a current U.S. history teacher, and her husband Matt is currently deployed. And we're just going to kind of dive right into it on like what life is like before deployment. So you said that you guys have got 2 young boys, and what types of conversations did you both have in order to prepare these kids for Dad being gone for so long?
Well, fortunately, we were told early on that Matt was going to be deployed. We were one of the first families to be notified because of Matt was able to plan part of the deployment and be very hands-on with it.
Well, that's nice at least.
Yeah, most soldiers are told about 6 months in advance, and we knew about 10 months. But he very rarely sits me down and says, we need to talk.
Yeah.
And so when he told me, he sat me down and said, we need to talk. And whenever he says that, I know it's something to do with the military.
Yeah, for sure.
And I knew it's coming because he had been preparing me, like, time-wise, we knew that a deployment was on the horizon. But I don't know, I wasn't expecting it, so
yeah.
I cried, obviously.
Well, I'm sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, and then I started reaching out to some of it. There was one other wife that also knew who went through deployments before with kids. So I reached out to her, and a lot of what I did to prepare my kids is advice I got from her of what to do for our children. But really, we're really honest with our kids, and we're really open about, what Daddy does is not exactly the safest job in the world.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of traveling, and they're used to that. They're used to having Matt gone for long periods of time for training and stuff. But,
yeah. Well, and like one thing that you said, like that I've noticed. So for those of you that don't know, my sister and my brother-in-law is in the Navy, and my sister is, she's a stay-at-home mom with 5 kids, which I couldn't even imagine having 5 kids. But like, he's oftentimes, like, he's been deployed a couple of times too. And one thing that I think is so awesome about the situation with deployed spouses and then their loved ones is that there is like a tight-knit group that you can lean on and try to get some information on like what to expect whenever, you're going through that, because that's just such a tough time for sure.
Yeah, and it's kind of unique. Not a lot of families, unless you're in the military, know what it's like to go without your spouse for 2-3 months or longer.
Yeah.
So, and we're going on month 10, I think.
Yeah, golly, that's crazy.
Yeah, so I have a countdown on my phone that counts down exactly how many days he's been gone.
Yeah.
And how many days until he comes home, and I'm just constantly, the boys and I are constantly checking.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm sure. And I mean, and like, just from the parent perspective too, it's like how much your kids grow, and like, just in 10 months, like, I was scrolling through my phone and I was like looking at a couple pictures of my kid, and I'm like, man, like just 3 months ago, like, I'm like, man, my kid's grown so much. And it's like, I can't imagine what Matt will see and what his reactions will be with the boys whenever he comes back. 'Cause I mean, they probably have shot up crazy over the past 10 months.
Oh, they have. I mean, I can't keep my 7-year-old in a pair of pants that fit him.
I bet, yeah.
For anything. So he just keeps growing, and I keep telling them, stop growing so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why kids have to grow so fast.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
Yeah. But we set our kids down. It was probably 3 months before. So we kind of held it to ourselves for a little while, because we didn't want them to panic, and we didn't want them to feel like Dad's just leaving. So we wanted to tell them in advance, but we didn't want to tell them too early.
Yeah.
And so we thought like 3 months to just kind of slowly talk about it. And we were very gentle about, Daddy's job is very important, and sometimes Daddy has to leave for a certain amount of time. And we showed them on a map, Daddy is going to this place, and this is when he's leaving, and this is what he's going to be doing. And so my children have gotten really good at working a globe.
I bet, yeah.
The point where Matt is right now, and we've looked at lots of animal books, and we did that as a family to talk about, where Daddy was going. And
yeah.
So, and Matt he has a great relationship with our sons, and so he was very, he'd sit down with them and have very honest conversations with them about, what their responsibility will be once he's gone.
Well,
and they like to joke that they're in charge.
Yeah, exactly. And I was going to say, especially for young boys too, like whenever their dad tells them like, hey, look, I'm leaving and these things are on you. Like, I'm sure that does like kind of give them almost like a sense of honor. Like, okay, like Dad trusts me with this to be able to help while things are gone. So that's got to be a big thing for the boys too.
Yeah. And especially for my oldest, Elijah, at 7, he's getting to that age where we can give him more responsibilities and things. And so he's kind of taken that on, and he's done a wonderful job with the responsibilities that we've given him, and his emotional level, I feel like, has grown a lot with this deployment. But we've read lots of books to get them ready to know kind of what to expect. We got some little dolls that look like Matt, the deployment dolls, and they're hilarious.
That's cool.
My 4-year-old loves it.
Yeah.
He cuddles it and talks to it, and it's precious. But yeah.
Not so much with Elijah. He's just kind of like, hey, look, this doll looks like my dad.
Yeah, Elijah's just kind of, I don't know. I don't know if he's too old for it, but my 4-year-old has really connected with that doll.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't, really understand what's going on. Really.
Yeah.
I don't think.
For sure. But that's a cool thing, though, especially for those that are going through this or about to go through this. Like, I mean, my vision for this episode is like, this is something that people will be able to go through and listen to anytime. And like having the little dolls made, like, where did you get those dolls at, if you don't mind me asking?
I just found them on Etsy.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and I think it helps with, especially my youngest one, to see their dad's face. Because we don't always have the ability to talk to him or FaceTime him. So it helps that he sees every night, and if it's little.
Gotcha.
But
yeah, that's cool. Very cool. So, like, as far as, like, emotions go, I'm sure emotions are running high, especially with the kids, So how does that go from day to day? Is it just, kind of take it one step at a time kind of situation?
Yeah, it is. We had my 7-year-old. I'll let his teachers know. I'll let their guidance counselors know, and his guidance counselors were really great about checking in on Elijah just to see how he feels. And sometimes he would come home and he would tell me, like, I needed to go to guidance today just to cry for a minute because I missed Dad. So, and those days kind of broke my heart a little bit.
But sure.
Especially when I knew we couldn't talk to Matt at the time.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the internet was down, and often. And really often, like right now it's down, but
oh gosh.
Yeah. But talking about it I think it helped me connect to my children too, because they would see me having hard days and how I dealt with it, and then we kind of were able to lean on each other a little bit. And when they were having hard days, they were open with me and talking it through. And I think it really made our relationship with my children really strong in that way.
I'm sure, for sure. Like,
especially for boys, I just want them to be emotionally stable.
Well, yeah, and then of
being
course
able to talk about those type of things. And,
yeah. Well, and we live in Middle Tennessee, and for some reason, we talked about this at church where I go to church at, and it's like, for some reason, like Middle Tennessee men, we're supposed to keep our emotions bottled up and, not go through and talk about it. But it's, it's one of those things where we need to be able to talk about it. And that's,
right.
One of the things that we've talked about at church is like, going through and making sure that we make that, I don't want to say like a safe space, but I mean, that's really what it is. And it's like, it's okay for your kids to feel, all the feelings with Dad's job. I mean,